Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Me here. Oh, yeah. Let me see here. Is this going? All right. I am trying to do this in too many places, I think. Anyway, all right. Hello, everybody. I'm live. This is Jorie Houlihan here, your guide for the dopamine deprived, and it is Topic Tuesday. And I come on here live most Tuesdays anyway, at 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time to talk about something ADHD related. So today we are going to be talking about surviving the holidays when you have ADHD. So the hold on 1 second here. I think this is going okay. Um, so the holidays are stressful for everybody, let's be honest. When you have ADHD, it takes it to a different level, right? So this week's podcast is about that. I used to do a webinar about surviving the holidays, and this year, in the spirit of having a new podcast, I decided to make it a podcast. So I definitely hope you will tune into that. But I want to talk about one specific aspect of the podcast today, and that is the feeling that we have to do all the things, right? We have to make all the cookies and send all the cards and host all the things and and also buy all the gifts and do this while and do that while we are also trying to stay emotionally regulated, right? And so let's just take cookies, for example, right? Making holiday cookies seems like simple enough, but there's actually a lot of executive functioning that goes into making cookies, right? You have to have the recipes. You have to have all the ingredients. You have to have the time to make them. Remember, we have time blindness, and so we think everything takes like 10 minutes, right? Cookies take longer than that. It takes longer to that for that. It takes longer to do that. Just the mixing part, right? And the holiday cards, we tend to, we feel like we have to send them to everyone we've ever met in our entire life, and that doesn't work either, right? When I think about having to, put something into an Excel file to upload it so that even if I have somebody else do it, I get completely overwhelmed with it because it's just so many steps. And so I wanted to talk today about giving yourself permission to not do all the things. You don't have to do all the things. In fact, I encourage you to not do all the things. And I say this because you will drive yourself crazy. The other part of this, though, is that there are some of you. So, for example, I don't send holiday cards. I love getting them, right? I don't send them. I have a running joke that if I sent them, people would think it was a cry for help and that something I'd been kidnapped or something, right? Like I don't do it because I get totally overwhelmed by it. And I love to do the cookies, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. And then I know though that there are some of you who you do all the things, right? You're making the cookies and you're doing the cards and you're doing the shopping and you're decorating and you're doing all the things and you feel completely what's the word? Like a fraud because you also know that while you're putting on this great show, inside you are freaking out, right? You have so much anxiety around all of it and you feel like a fraud not because of that but because people think you have your shit together. Right? And it's okay to say that you don't. So what I am saying here is I want you to give yourself permission to not do all the things. Okay. The things I talk about in the podcast, for example, cards. Pick like your 3 to 5 favorite people and send them cards. And if that's too much, send one. And if that's too much, don't send them. We always worry that people are going to be cross-checking to see, oh, they sent you a card. I didn't get a card from them, blah, blah. Nobody checks these things, right? Do what works for your brain. I loved the idea of making Christmas cookies. I celebrate Christmas. And I wanted to make that time so magical with my kids when they were young. But it really ended up just being a lot of yelling because I was so overwhelmed and the mess was it was so bad. And, they're young and they don't know. They're just doing their thing. And it wasn't magical for anybody because I was a mess. This was pre-diagnosis, right? And so what I realized was after my diagnosis, and I better understood that my brain goes into overwhelm more quickly than other people, and that it is in large part due to executive dysfunction. I gave myself permission to not do all the things, right? Now, I already hadn't been doing the cards. I just didn't feel guilty about it anymore, if I'm being honest. The cookies were probably the hardest one because I really do love all of them. But first of all, it takes a long time to make cookies, right? It just does because you have to mix the things. Sometimes you have to chill the dough before you do the whatever. And anyway, and then if you're doing cutouts, then you have to roll everything out and then you have to cut them and put them in and then whatever. So now I do I do the cutouts usually. I do make a cookie that my husband really likes. He calls them Italian wedding cookies. I call them pecan puffs, whatever. And that is out of pure love for that man because I would not do it otherwise because they're a pain in the butt to make. But I went from making like 5 different kinds of cookies that we were never going to eat all of them in a sitting or even a year. And I narrowed it down to those 2. And then if I still feel like making some later, then maybe I will. But just doing the cutouts alone sometimes wipes me out. And I actually posted a picture. This was like this was, I think, the first year after I got the diagnosis, and I gave myself permission to just do what I could do. And the picture was of cutouts that we had made that half of them hadn't been frosted because the dopamine ran out. And we were like, yeah, it's all right. They still taste good. And we just still ate them, right? I want you to have that kind of an attitude. I want you to really enjoy your holidays. And I don't want you to get all caught up in other people's expectations about what you should be doing, right? Especially if you are a parent. Everybody wants their kids' multiple childhoods to to be magical, right? I had a really great childhood and Christmas was always such a magical time for me. And it's one of the reasons it's my favorite holiday. I also know that when you are working with a neurodivergent brain, what is magical for you may not be magical for other people. And that is their problem. And that's the hard part, right? And I talk about this a lot. We have that people pleasing thing going on there. So I want you to think about what's important to you about the holidays. Is it making cookies? Is it doing cards? So people really, their creativity really comes out in doing the cards. But I also know there's a lot of you that like you take the picture and you design the card and then it never gets sent because you have run out of dopamine, right? It all went into the creativity, but the actual sending of it didn't quite make it there. I want you to just think about what about this time of year is important to you and focus on those things. And if you are telling yourself, but they're all important to me, not all of them are important to you. They're not all of equal weight. Again, we struggle with prioritization because everything does feel like it's the same weight. However, with this, I really want you to think about what would I be truly sad about if I didn't do it this year? right? So maybe an example might be, maybe you do make a bunch of different kinds of cookies, and this time you're going to make one. And if you worry about, well, your kids are going to be like, but I want this and I want that. Try to find a way to make the one type of cookie you make special for them so that they're more invested in it and they're okay with not having the 16 other kinds, right? Like I said with the cards, either don't send them or just send them to a few people that are important to you. When it comes to buying gifts, like credit card companies love people with ADHD. Can you guess why? Yeah, we have terrible impulse control and we have people pleasing tendencies. And we start buying gifts for people that really, one of the questions I ask is, why are you buying anything for this person? Not just why are you buying this particular gift for this person? Why are you buying anything for them? Is this somebody who is truly important to you and you love giving them gifts and they're a really good person in your life? Or are they somebody that you feel you should give a gift to? Because that's not the same thing. Okay. So think about the shoulds that you currently have going on, whether it's the cards, the cookies, the people, the gifts, whatever, and leave those out this year. Leave the shoulds out and see if it makes a difference. Because this time of year doesn't have to be so hard. It really doesn't. You were allowed to make it simpler for yourself. And if other people don't like that, that is their problem. It really is. Don't make it yours. It's just not okay. All right. All right. That is all I have for today. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you are in the States and you celebrate Thanksgiving, we did. We were in the Philly area. I'm very spoiled because my brother-in-law is a chef and he does all the cooking. So excellent job, Ben. And but it was the first year my husband's mom died shortly before this, and I know not everybody loves their in-laws, but I do love mine, and it was sad. But the whole family was together, and it was really great because of that. So anyway, sorry. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we had a great Thanksgiving. We had to come back a little early to avoid a snowstorm. And literally, it was a very long day. But anyway, but I hope you all had a great time for your Thanksgivings. If you don't celebrate, I hope you had a great week last week. And definitely check out the podcast because I go into much more detail about the things that we get overwhelmed with and some things that you can do to make it less overwhelming during the holidays. And my guest is Rana Balinki. I've already interviewed her. She was in episode 5, and she is a time management expert and productivity expert. And she is wonderful. And she has a really great gift for people who watch the podcast. So you should definitely check it out. All right, that's it. So have an amazing week. And, let me know in the comments, like what are some shoulds that maybe you're going to leave off the list this year? I would be curious to know. All right. And again, if you have any suggestions for these lives or for a podcast episode, please definitely let me know. I am open to all suggestions. All right. So have a great rest of your day.